I guess it was a visionary decision back in 2000. So this year we have the 16th edition of Unlimited, and it was a very visionary idea to set such a format and to set such a pace. Because normally it's the fair booth, that's the rhythm, that's the pace of a fair. Like any fair, I guess, is based on a booth system. And this is the first part of a fair that is set as an open space, as a museum space. And we build up to 1.5 miles of walls every year to set up a museum exhibition. It's a very successful format. We have 70,000 visitors in 6 days, and that's the beauty of Unlimited. People come here to see art, and they are always focused. They know exactly, if we don't do it now, we'll never make it. It's a long time run with different stages. The first stage is to trigger applications. I mean, naturally I need strong applications to make a strong show. I think any great art show is based on great artworks. And that's the first stage, and then it goes on with the moderation of the committee meeting and to reach out to them and to get in dialogue in order to convince them to vote in the right artworks. Then it's about like setting up a parcours that is interesting, that is doable, that is easy to accomplish. That's the next step. And probably the final step is the whole communication around it, what I'm doing now, talking about Unlimited, making guided tours, and so on. Actually, there's an aspect of it that is very near to micro-urbanism. It's all about like creating a system of alleyways and squares. And actually, I'm really interested in the squares because the squares have an identity in themselves and are built upon the artworks that are shown on this square. So that's basically what I try to do, to create a system of square, and that people navigate from one square to the other, and that there are entrances to other projects on those squares. But it's basically the first year where we have the full width of the hall, which is a great asset, because for the first time it was really possible to plan it in a more generous way and to have alleyways that would be really short. And in general, I want to make it an easy experience on the physical part of things, to have people having a maximum of energy to get the attention of the artworks. For me, it was an exciting thought to have Julius von Bismarck as a gatekeeper and as a welcome figure. And this eccentric guy who just turns around his own axis and lives in his own universe. That was a very good entrance into the show. But also there are multiple works. We wanted to keep it quite open and to have like freestanding artworks behind that curtain to keep the lightness of the curtain. And for example, the parachutes by Hector Zamora have this floating, beautiful character, and they open up actually another space. And as I said before, with the squares, creation of squares, I think it's very interesting also to modulate three-dimensional space. And it lives from the diversity of the artistic position. So Unlimited is all about the eccentricity of the artist, and that's why also Julius von Bismarck is such a good entrance. We really try to make stars out of those artistic positions, and to have a firmament, to have a sky full of stars actually, and each of them is allowed or is asked to shine as bright as possible. If you think of Opa Vivara, we don't have a restaurant this year in the back, and so Opa Vivara is basically our restaurant. but it's a fantastic work that is based on indigenous tradition from Brazil. On one hand, the hammock, which was the traditional form of the indigenous people to sleep, and there are herbs, there's this station to cook your own, to brew your own tea, and to vitalize yourself or to calm yourself down if you get too excited with all this art around you. And so it has a function and it's set at the right point. So curating in this setting has a lot to do with also pragmatic decisions to take and actually to find the right spot and also to cover the needs of each artwork. I think when you're the curator of such a show, it's a bit like when you have 74 children, you like all of them. And of course, like each of them has qualities and is outstanding. But I'm more interested actually in the recalls within the show, that you have monochrome painting of one artist, Marcia Hafif, who was born in the 20s, and the young artist Sam Falls, who was born in the 80s. And both of them use monochrome painting as vehicles. But in the case of Hafif, it was a very conceptual approach to painting, while Sam Falls built a monument for his best friend who died at the age of 24. And so he died actually these 24 canvas boxes in allusion of the favorite book that they shared, a novel by Bolaño, or 2066. And so it has a very emotional and biographic content, while Hafif has a very conceptual and kind of denuded way of approaching painting. And I think this is very interesting. I think within Unlimited there are about 6 or 7 shows. There's a show about computer-generated imagery. It's a very strong show. We have a painting show, actually on minimal and conceptual painting. We have a show on political subjects. Quite a bit of artists, as John Knight, for example, who works on world debt and corruption. And we have another bunch of artists who work on political subjects. And that's the interesting part. And each visitor sees another aspect, actually. Some people approach a show and keep in mind the political works. Others go for participation works. And it would be beautiful actually to do 1 year a guide with all these different tours or hikes within Unlimited.